Nicholas Singleton is a 3-down running back and a complete playmaker. And on today's episode, we'll discuss his path to the RB1 crown for the 2026 NFL Draft.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson. I'm an NFL draft analyst with Bleacher Report. That's my guy, Keith Sanchez. He is a director of scouting with the Draft Network and 2019 national champion with those LSU Tigers. And as always, thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. The scouting notebook is still open, and we're talking more running backs, more ball carriers. Nicholas Singleton, Kaytron Allen, two of the best, probably the best duo of running backs in college football. Which one is actually the better running back prospect for the 2026 NFL Draft? And a sleeper guy that you must know about, Claiborne out of Wake Forest. Keith, let's go ahead and start with the explosive guy out of that duo that we talked about from Penn State. And it's crazy. Both of these guys from Nick Singleton and Kaytron Allen both have NFL builds in height, weight, measurement. Nicholas Singleton, listed at 6'1", 220 pounds, coming off a season, 215 total touches from scrimmage, 1,481 yards from scrimmage, and 17 total touchdowns. And this is a guy that I kind of felt like I wanted him to come out this past draft, but when you kind of look at how it went, it makes sense, right? Go back and fight for that RB1 spot. But, you know, from my scouting report that I did on him, I did one and he ended up burning me by going back to school after I did it. Shout out to Nick Singleton for that, Keith. But his burst and acceleration are top tier. He reaches top speed very quickly. He can outrun pursuit angles. He's a physical downhill runner. He will lower the shoulder. He'll run through contact. It's almost, at times, it feels like he seeks out contact as well. He likes to set the tone for that Penn State rushing attack, even though you got big 220-pound Kaytron Allen coming right after him. But what I love about his game, Keith, he is a receiving threat, like a legitimate, because it's buckets, right? Like you have some guys who are just screen threats. They're functional. You could dump it down to them as a last resort type option. And then you got guys you can actually do things with in the passing game. And the way that Penn State uses him as a receiver out of the backfield, he'll line up in the slot. I can't remember which game it was. They ran a slot fade against, like, I think a linebacker or safety and won, and then high pointed the ball. He runs routes out of the backfield. He runs it from receiver alignments. And I this is a type of guy, and Keith, I'm going to throw out some names here. It depends on what OC he gets with. The two names that came to mind, my initial comp for him in my scouting report was David Johnson when he was with the Arizona Cardinals, when he was healthy. Similar height, weight, speed type guys, but just do-it-all type of dudes. Guys that you can get the ball to in multiple ways. The other guy, Todd Gurley, in terms of like what we saw with Todd, like a lot of people, and this that goes back to that's the scouting ideology. Just because they didn't do it doesn't mean they can't. It just was they weren't asked to. People thought Todd Gurley couldn't catch the ball coming out of Georgia. I'm like, no, they just run him because they can't stop him from running. So why would I throw it? Like, if you can't stop him on the ground, I'm going to punch you in the face every single time. We got the Sean McVay, and Sean McVay started using him in ways that mirrored Le'Veon Bell. And it was just like, oh yeah, this dude is a full-blown problem now. Because he's not just a first and second down like power back. I'm keeping him on the field. I don't have to take him off. And I look at Nicholas Singleton as that 3-down type of player for an NFL offense.
Yeah, you made some very good points with that. Honestly, DP, you talk about him that's for the very beginning burning us. I remember when we did the summer scouting report on him last year. I remember I was in Chicago, we went through him, and I said it, and I'll say it again. I like him a lot. I like him a whole lot. And I agree with you. I like him so much that DP, I thought he would have been in a bucket I thought he could have fought to be a top 50, top 60 pick, right? Just because when you look at and you did the comps, right? David Johnson and Todd Gurley, which both of them I like, is that the traits are similar because you're talking about big guys that are nimble, right? And that's usually special in a prospect. And you see him in the Penn State uniform, and obviously nobody's gonna go there. But the guy you think about too is a little Saquon Barkley, right? Like because he has the thick lowers, the explosive, the lateral agility, the vision. Like there's a lot there to really like, right? And I when I look at Nicholas Singleton, to me he checks all the boxes of an RB1, right? Now him coming back, it should be interesting, DP. And I think initially having both of the guys come back, I was kind of like, because then I'm gonna kind of get more of the same, right? Like where both of them had productive seasons, but it was almost similar to be completely honest, to the Ohio State situation for a long period of time. And I think that the Ohio State running backs, to be completely honest, they needed an extended playoffs, right? The fact that this was the 12-team playoff helped them a lot. Because I think if it was the old BCS era where you finish and it was just computers that project who's the number one overall team, and they didn't have that postseason run where you get an extra 4 games, I don't know if either one of those guys go as high, DP, just because finishing the regular season off, there wasn't as much there. Now with Nicholas Singleton and Kaytron Allen both coming back, it'll be interesting to see what this dynamic is. We know what Penn State did, right? Penn State said, hey, this is what Ohio State did. They bought back both running backs, and they traded. I said traded for. They acquired. Let me say they acquired Quinshon Judkins and kept Trevion Henderson, and they ran it with 2 running backs. So I think Penn State is like, hey, let's go and try and do the same thing. I'm excited to see what Nicholas Singleton, to see if he takes a step forward, right? Like what can he add to his bag? And I think when we talked about the was that Drew Aller? I can't remember if it was Drew Aller. For some reason, we had a conversation recently about Penn State passing attack, right? And it might have been
it was Drew Aller.
It was Drew Aller. And so I wonder if he's a guy that can step up, not in the wide receiver room, right? Because he doesn't play wide receiver, but just as a wide receiving option, right? For Penn State, and they're going to need this too. I wonder if the passing attack doesn't go the same as if it doesn't go as projected, do they force feed a guy like they did with Tyler Warren? And can Nicholas Singleton play that role to where he's the wildcat guy? He's kind of the do-it-all guy. Obviously, he won't play. I'm not saying do that, but they find more creative ways to give him the football.
And it's funny thing that when you mentioned that, Keith, to compound your point, he was the 3rd leading receiver in receptions on his team last year. The running back. He had 41 receptions. So for those who have not looked into the numbers for Penn State's passing offense last year, Tyler Warren had 135 targets, 104 receptions. Harrison Wallace III, 77 receptions, 77 targets, 46 receptions. Nicholas Singleton had 52 targets, 41 receptions. The next guy was Amari Evans, was another receiver, played all 16 games. He had 38 targets for just 21 receptions. Like what Nicholas, his role in this offense is so big because, like you said, they brought in Hudson. They brought in another kid. I think he came from Troy, like a slot receiver, route runner, separator type that I think will help. And honestly, I think it should help Drew Aller, especially from a playing on time and then rhythm type situation. When you have one of those like slot receivers who can get open quickly, move the chains, create space, now you're able to feel comfortable in the short to intermediate game a whole lot more. Instead of trying to be late and power throws in, you could just easily, I get it to my guy, play point guard, things like that. In his situation with these big quarterbacks, you want to see, can it be a Luka Doncic, LeBron James, that point forward where I know you can get me 30, but can you get me 12 assists? Can you distribute the ball? And I think that Drew, that's the next step for him. And Nicholas Singleton is going to play a role in that, man, because they go, you're going to run the ball, but you could come out in those 2 running back sets and motion him out against a linebacker, which then gives Drew Allen okay, this man-to-man coverage, I got the mismatch. I'm going to get it to Nick Singleton. So I think I think coming off of the season he had last year, I had a high 2nd-round grade on him or whatever, like right around, it was right close to Omari Hampton. It was him and Omari Hampton, that late 1st, early 2nd type of grade. This is a year for him. I want to see him take that next step because I do feel like I want to see him force more missed tackles, like be a little bit more elusive, not just seek out the contact and run through it all the time. I get it. You're 6'1", You're 220. You're a grown man. I feel you. But if you can make some guys miss, that's going to extend your playing career once you get to the NFL, right? Because trying to run head on a Roquan Smith isn't the greatest business decision for an entire 4-quarter game. You got to make a miss at some point.
Yeah, and I'll say this, and this all before we transition to his teammate, Kaytron Allen. Nicholas Singleton, I think and I've been talking about clear paths. There's a very clear path for him to be RB1 in this class. Yeah. I think there's that type of talent in a first-round pick. But DP, let's talk about his teammate, man. His running mate, Mr. Kaytron Allen, another running back that has he clipped 1,000 yards last year. He's getting better every single year, 800, 900, 1,100 yards. Let's talk about Kaytron Allen coming up next.
Guys, you've probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rajit Reddy. Rajit Reddy is a next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost blood flow. Unlike the usual pills that can take hours, Rajit's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue, kicks in fast, and on average in 15 minutes. Effects can last up to 36 hours, so you stay confident and in control when the moment is right. Head to Rujit.com/LockedOnNFL and use the code LockedOnNFL to get 15% off today. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnNFL. Use the promo code LockedOnNFL to get 15% off. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing review. Please visit the Rujit website for full safety information. Kaytron Allen, 5'11", 217 pounds. I think Nick Singleton might have been a 5-star. That Kaytron Allen was a 4-star. They both came in to Penn State, I believe, the exact same time frame, to be completely honest. They came in together and everything. And again, 5'11", 217, 220. And this is a densely built power runner, Keith. Off the season last year, 237 total touches, 1,254 yards from scrimmage, 10 total touchdowns from scrimmage. He's patient. He plays with good vision. You'd rarely ever see Kaytron sped up when you're watching him. He plays. He's a guy that just plays to his pace, right? And he's the type of running back that the offensive line love because he doesn't outrun them. He lets them. He patiently waits, buys time. Oh, not Le'Veon Bell, but remember Le'Veon Bell had that little hop step in the backfield.
Yeah, he's just kind of be running straight up, and he would honestly, he would get the ball and almost stand still.
Legitimately, like he would just stand still and at the line of scrimmage, like, all right, do y'all thing, and then boom, it was, you know what it reminded me of watching Le'Veon Bell, that darn, we'll talk about him in a little bit, that Wake Forest slow mesh. He ran it himself. Le'Veon Bell ran that offense himself, where he would just kind of step to the line of scrimmage, let his blockers do their thing, and pick a hole, right? And Kaytron is very patient that he lets, if he's got lead blockers, he's like, oh, no, go ahead, big fella, get in front of me, create that space, and I'm gonna hit daylight. He's physical. He finished runs. You think back to that Boise State game where he breaks it up the middle of the middle of the field in that run, and I think it's safety. And I think that might have been one of those moments where it was like, yeah, we weren't meant to win this game because the safety tried to hit Kaytron, and he got low. Keith, he got real low, and he was on the ground. And then Kaytron's like bumbling and stumbling for another 5 to 7, maybe 10 yards after contact because he ran straight through him, right? And the guy that comes to mind a little bit for me is James Conner, where like functional pass catchers out of the backfield.
Yeah, I was going to ask
you for builds.
I was going to ask you for comps because I was trying to think of some when I watched him, and it was kind of difficult because he's it's not heavier back like he's heavy, right? Like he's not 240, 250, but it's a rumbling style. Right, and that's what I was trying to find a rumble.
Kind of old school.
Yeah.
Yep. It's kind of old school. And another name that came to mind because it's crazy because he's listed at 217, but if you stand him and Nicholas Singleton side by side, you would think he was 230. You would think he was.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You would think he's 235-ish, and like he,
legit though.
It's
the guy that came to mind was Green Bay Pack when he was with the Packers, Eddie Lacy. Being that those shorter, like 5'11", 220-pound running backs, 225-pound running backs, but they have nimbler feet than you would expect for their size.
Mhm.
Those guys that are just they kind of glide a little bit until they hit the line of scrimmage, and then there it's just a straight on burst in this straight line speed, trying to get the top speed, make plays. He catches the ball out of the backfield, and I think for him it's just continue to play your role. You're going to get drafted, and in this class could be anywhere from, I think right now I would see him probably third, fourth round. The speed,
that's why I see him too.
The top end speed is concerning though. Like he's not so the burst, the acceleration and burst are above average to me, and then like the top end speed is okay. And that's why I get a little bit concerned with him.
How does he compare to our guy? And I mean, he wound up going late in the draft. That was due to production too. From Miami, the running back from Miami. Yeah, how do you think they compare as far as just strengths and weaknesses?
Yeah. I think Damian. I think Martinez was another guy that should have came back. I think Martinez is a better player. He's more elusive, even though he's big, similar to Kaytron. He's more elusive. He ran a 4.51 at the combine. I think Kaytron's probably gonna push 4.6.
4.6. Okay.
Yeah, I think he's gonna push probably 4.6, around somewhere in there, 4.62, 4.61. I don't see him running unless he drops weight. Now, if he comes in at 210 and hits 4.55, I'm like, all right. You're not gonna play at that weight, you know what I mean. But that's probably what he could hit that. But I think both of them power backs, nimble footed, good patience and vision, can work through congestion, things like that. They catch the ball out of the backfield. I think Martinez was a better receiver. They didn't throw it to him enough, but he caught the ball with his full hands, extension out in space. He's just really comfortable in space like that. Where I look at Kaytron, more of a body catcher, more of a checked out option than a guy that you would split out and stuff like that. There's some similarities between the two though.
Yeah, I see Kaytron more. He should come in, and I think he's probably going to be your ideal short yardage back, right? Like I think about teams like the Dallas Cowboys, when they had the Tony Pollards, they have and even the running backs that they have now. They got our guy from the Denver Broncos. I think they went inside Jay Blue. Yeah. And then but they wound up, he should probably fit in how they want to utilize, I think, Phil Maffa this year, right? Like we're talking about the Cowboys running back, but I also think too that and we didn't even talk about Phil Maffa's another guy, right? Like a couple different things go differently throughout the season, or in the pre-draft process. Like he's probably more of a second, third
changes
round.
Everything.
Yeah, it changes everything. But yeah, I could see him playing that role, and which is a valuable role, right? For a lot of teams. They need those type of running backs, especially DP, because you even look at last year. Last year had some big running backs, but they also had a lot of guys that were sub 5'10", right around 205 pounds. When you think about the Jarquez Hunters, you think about the RJ Harveys, you think about the Trevor Etiennes, you could keep on going with all of those different type of running backs. Now maybe they could supplement it with some heavier guys. We talked about Nick Singleton last segment, then Kaytron Allen.
And Keith, I'm gonna throw out another name for Kaytron. It popped in my mind while you were talking. I'm like, let me make sure the measurements are similar. Alfred Morris. Remember Alfred Morris with the Commanders? RG3?
Yeah. He was a 4.6 guy. I want to say out of FAU. He was a 4.6 guy. And
3 straight 1,000-yard seasons.
Yeah, that's interesting too, DP, because now you're talking about being scheme specific, right? Well, not scheme specific, but a scheme helping accentuate their best qualities as a football player. And you wondered if that's the magic touch for Kaytron Allen, right? And you talked about the patience that he runs with, right? Like something like an outside zone could help them. And then because you look at it now, kind of parlaying to the Commanders now, Brian Robinson, right? And we respect Brian Robinson's talent. Do we think that he has the most elite talent for a running back? No, but another kind of big power back that doesn't have the top end speed, but he's going on year 3, year 4 is kind of being the RB1 in the situation. So it just lets you know you kind of can't sleep on any situation, right? And as long as you got a puncher's shot, go give it a shot, right? You have opportunity to be RB1. But DP, let's wrap this episode up, man, with Purdue running back Damian Claiborne, an under the radar name that has popped up that we both looked at, we identified, we like. We're gonna talk about him coming up next. Purdue running back Damian Claiborne.
Is he? Oh, he's a Wake Forest.
Oh shoot! I could, and that's why I paused because I'm like, it's one of these black and yellow schools, and I was like, I
Yeah,
hope
I had to make sure he didn't transfer. You know, these cats be
no,
transferring left and
yeah,
right.
no. When I said it, I was
If
like,
you want,
I
I'm gonna
hope
say if you
he's
want to
not.
do that transition over, you good.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, DP, let's get into Damian Claiborne. Who is Damian Claiborne? Wake Forest running back. This guy had up over 1,000 yards, all-purpose yards. He's shifty. He's agile. He's electric. He makes plays. Let's talk about Wake Forest running back Damian Claiborne coming up next.
Ever check your bank account and wonder where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized how much I was spending on food and other deliveries. Now I budget smarter and save more. Take control over your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com with the code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year. And one more time for you guys, use the code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every shot, for being our everydayers. 5'10", 195 pounds, Damian Claiborne out of Wake Forest. And this young man, we just talked about Wake Forest, that slow mesh type of offense where it's slow mesh RPO, inside zone. This young man, Keith, I'm not going to lie. Yeah, he might be one of them ones, man. I like this kid a lot, Keith. I like his game a whole lot. Speed, explosiveness, like you said, electric. He brings so much electricity to the Demon Deacons offense. Last year, 251 total touches, 13 over 1,300, 1303 yards from scrimmage, and 13 total touchdowns. I believe he also had a kick return for a touchdown against Miami. And I was like, his suddenness and burst and acceleration. This is the type of young man that can be. I think it's crazy because I have to correct myself. Like, and slight overcorrection. So I think it might have been yesterday's podcast. We were talking about the running backs, and I was like, yeah. Remember, the Travion Henderson, Jahmyr Gibbs thing. And I was like, yeah, we probably won't see another Jahmyr Gibbs. He's not Jahmyr Gibbs, but the way he moves reminds me of Jahmyr Gibbs because they go from 0 to 60 in a heartbeat.
Really fast, yeah.
Sudden, he's twitchy, but also he runs route. He runs route. The movement patterns are there. Catches the ball out of the backfield, and it's just like watching. Like you see two guys who are like patient, but the reason why they're so scared is because because of the fact they are patient, and then they can go from slow to sudden in a heartbeat, and it's just like. This is not what you want to deal with from a running back standpoint because he's not small. He's 195 pounds. He's well built. Like, this is a dude that people better get eyes on. Wake Forest, the ACC, a lot of people don't watch them like that. They're usually on the noon games on Saturdays. I know because I'm in the Carolinas, see them all the time. They're 12 noon is when they kick off, unless they're playing Clemson. This is a guy that you need to get your eyes on. Damian Claiborne. He is a baller, Keith. I like his game a whole lot.
Well, DP, I had a little hiccup, right? And I wanted to call him a Purdue running back, right? I thought he was at Purdue, knew it was one of the black and gold schools. Reason why, because from a skill set perspective, he kind of reminded me of your guy, Tyrone Tracy. A kind of do-it-all back, a guy that can catch the ball out of the backfield. And he has, and the unique thing about Tyrone Tracy, and you've seen with the New York Giants, is that he was a former wide receiver. And with Damian Claiborne, you just talked about his receiving skill sets, right? And I was like, man, this is a really versatile back that you can do in a lot of different things. I do think Damian is more explosive vertically, right? Like he's a
Yeah,
more
for sure.
explosive vertically player, but maybe it was the colors that just had me. And I was like, this kind of reminds me of Tyrone Tracy a little bit, just a do-it-all type of back that there's a lot of value there. But I'm excited for him because you're talking about just being at Wake Forest, DP. One, he should get the opportunity because there shouldn't be a lot of competition, right? And then secondly, how much can he elevate his stock, right? I think that's going to be very key for him for this situation. I think it's going to be exciting.
No, 100%. I go back to another Big Ten running back, a couple years ago. It was at Michigan State. He's a former Demon Deacon himself. He left Wake Forest to go to Michigan State. Kenneth Walker III. Kenneth Walker is a little bit more compact. He's like 5'9", about 210. And everything. So he's listed a little bit shorter, a little bit heavier, but same thing, like patience, vision, suddenness, burst, the shiftiness, the explosiveness as a runner, and everything. And to me, he's Walker wasn't the greatest receiver out of the backfield. He wasn't like a natural hands catcher, things of that nature. He's a screen dump off option, things like that. Where I look at Claiborne as a guy that you can do more with and kind of create weaponry type of touches out of the backfield with him. So that his lateral agility, good contact balance as well. This is a guy that might tear the combine up. I think he's going to absolutely light the combine on fire. And we walk out of Indianapolis when the running backs are done. It's like, man, Damon Claiborne made himself some money in Indianapolis this week because the game is there. The stuff on film is there. And I won't say that. I don't want to sound like that, but I would love to see him transfer to a better offense. Just like Kenneth Walker did. I'm not trying to hurt the Demon.
He's trying to move the transfer portal, baby.
I'm just saying,
the transfer portal.
I would love to see him. I would love to see him at Ohio State. You know what I mean? A situation like that. I would love to see him go to the Big 12. You know what I'm saying?
You're gonna have what are they? The Demon Deacons?
Demon Deacons. Yeah, I'm not trying to have that.
You're gonna have them mad with you, DP.
Listen, I'm glad he stayed. He showed the loyalty, kid. I'm glad he stayed. And he fit like that. His ability in that offense, because he's the type of guy in that slow mesh, you got to be able to read the second level defenders that read those linebackers to pick your lane. And if you as a linebacker, if you pick wrong, this could be very bad for your safeties. Because now they're trying to deal with his speed, full speed, and he can make you miss. You know what I'm saying? With the lateral movement skills, you're putting guys in bad one-on-one situations.
Yeah, I'll say this: watching them, DP, I'll go with a high third-round pick, and I plan on right at this moment, he's a guy that I probably will elevate. Right, I want to go high third into the second round. Sure. He's the guy that I plan on elevating. It's obviously this upcoming year and just watching him in detail, but the stuff he put on film, and this is the other part that I don't think this running back class will be as deep as the last one, right? So the value part of it, these guys should maintain value through the third, fourth round, right? We shouldn't see really good running backs fall into the seventh round,
6th, 7th round. What are we doing? No,
yeah, it was just crazy. And like we kept saying, it was just how the board fell. But I think he a guy that should maintain and keep value. And that's I say I'll give him a third round grade and then kind of you know what? I think this guy will probably elevate himself because like you said, you put him at the combine, you put him in different situations, and honestly, just more opportunities to put more stuff on film, right? Another year at it, another crack at it, more carries to make a highlight play, show something different, something special. Could be a lot for Jahmyr Claiborne.
No, 100%, man. I think in this class, I think this running back class is going to be like you said, up until I think you get the most value you're going to find right now, come off some through summer scouting, probably 4th round. Okay, we can find a starter 4th round. After that, you're looking at backups, role players, special teamers, and everything. But as of right now, 1st through the 3rd, 4th round, you can find yourself a starter if these guys do end up declaring. And I think like you said, 3rd round, back of the 2nd. Like I said, at the combine, I think he's going to be one of those guys. When we talk about Kaytron being a big guy, some of these other backs being big, physical, things like that. Desmond Reed is going to probably run fast as well. Who we talked about on yesterday's show, right? Out of Pitt, he's going to run fast as well. But he's it's 175. Yeah. Yep. You got Damon Claiborne, who's 20 pounds heavier. He might match him in speed, which is crazy to think about. So I'm excited to see this young man. Work that slow mesh offense again. Really, especially, I think they should have Clemson on the schedule. And regardless if you win that game or not, That's one of those games you want to see him hit 100, 120 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's like, you know what? Against the best of the best competition in college football, I'm good. I'm locked in. I'm solidified, man.
Yup, with DP, that wraps up another episode, man, of the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I want to end this podcast off by saying shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day. Every listen is greatly appreciated. I am Keith Sanchez. You can find me on X at The Talent Code. That right there is my guy, my co-host, Mr. Damian Parson. You can find him on X at DP_NFL. And like we like to say, man, y'all come talk to us because we like to talk back.
Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts, to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. On the next episode of the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, guys, we will be getting into the interior defensive line. Peter Woods he's been viewed as a top 5 prospect. I promise you, I was at Clemson Pro Day. I saw the way scouts was looking at him. They were ready for this young man, and they'll be able to get a full dose of him in 2025. We're going to break down his game on the next episode of Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. So come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.